Are you too fat to do jiu-jitsu? Guys, my name is Bill Jones. I'm the head instructor of top-level martial arts in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. I'm a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer and Tony Rinaldi. You're watching Professor's Corner. Thanks for watching. With me today, purple belt, Dan Pratt. How you doing, Dan?
What's up, guys? Doing great. Glad to be here, Bill.
So Dan is a fellow heroically sized grappler.
A bit.
Yeah, neither of us are under 240. So, we're the kind of guys who look at the 190s and be like, yeah, you're a small guy.
Yeah, of course.
So the question came in from one of my students, and Dan trains with me, so one of your teammates.
Sure.
And said, like a cool topic would be like, are you too heavy to do jiu-jitsu? And I have my thoughts on this, but I also like I was telling you a little bit beforehand, like I am a authority on jiu-jitsu, but I'm certainly not the authority. And I have experience. My degree is in exercise physiology, one of them, and then certified strength and conditioning specialist. So I have some thoughts on it, but I kind of wanted to hear your point of view. As like a student still learning a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah.
And as a bigger guy, like what challenges do you see? I mean, to be clear, Dan's not fat by any means.
Yeah, I was wondering why you asked me to be a part of this.
Dan, all right, Dan is heroically sized, right? He's a bigger guy though,
Yeah.
so like things like Kiss of the Dragon don't necessarily. And if you don't know what that is, it's like an inversion. You go upside down in between someone's legs. Mm-hmm. Something like that isn't maybe the most natural movement for you. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, have you ever thought about that? Been like, man, am I too big for this?
Yeah. So some of those things, no, they're not natural. They're not the first thing I would do. But for me, I love jiu-jitsu so much and learning it that to me, my mindset is I will try to do everything. So it is my goal to try to do every move I'm shown, every technique, every detail. I'm going to attack it. I'm going to try and do it. Like I will do inside spins or Imanari rolls, or I'll go for Kiss of the Dragon. It might not be as easy, it's more of a challenge for me, but I kind of like that. It is a challenge. I want to do it. Yeah. So in my eyes, there's nothing that I will limit myself and say, no, I can't do this. I just know that some things will be a little harder, but bring it on,
Yeah. And I think there are things like that are a little harder, like any of those crazy open guards. And I say crazy, like mainly because I'm an old man now, but like reverse De La Hiva, all these like very fluid guards are tougher for me. Yeah. For any number of reasons. One, they weren't as prevalent when I was coming through the ranks. They existed, but they were more. They just weren't as well developed, and all those things feel harder for me. But what doesn't feel harder is like when I'm in the top positions, right? Like I'm in side control. Mm-hmm. It's not as hard for me to hold a person down, right?
Right.
Like so I look at that as like, well, is that attribute-based jiu-jitsu? And to some degree it is. Like, yeah. I'm kind of with you. Like, I love to learn jiu-jitsu. I love to learn everything that I can. I feel like as a professor, a third-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, it is my job to know as much jiu-jitsu as I humanly can. To always, what's the newest trends, especially because I'm like a professional at this, right? This is what I do for a living. So I should know when someone comes up to me and says, what's a dead orchard? I feel bad if I don't know the answer. It's like, I should have known that. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's not a move I do or whatever, I should at least know it.
Right.
And have some tips for it or whatever, and be like, oh, this is a strategy you can use. So-and-so knows it. Or you can find it, instructional on it here or something like that, or here's a guy in our academy that's the best at it. Someone asked me about the Peruvian necktie the other day, and it's like, it's not a move I do, but go see Doug.
Yeah,
Doug,
go find him. Yeah.
Doug will definitely help you with it. He'll talk to you for 7 hours on Peruvian neckties, and,
absolutely,
and you'll be able to do it when you're done. Mm-hmm. So like I think that those attributes, everybody has attributes, and there's like, as much as we want to say, don't try to use strength, or don't try to use your size, or don't try. No one says that to a small person. No one's going to Mikey Musumeci and saying, hey, don't be small, right, and get into small places. Like when he does it, it's super technical, right? Mm-hmm. Yet when you hold someone down in side control, oh, you're just big and strong.
Yeah.
Like that is the most unfair thing I've ever heard in my life. Like I don't get that. Like, so this kid's small and able to just like slide his knee up his body and just like attach it to his ear without bending at all, and that's okay. That's definitely an attribute. Or they're fast, right? Yeah. You ever have that?
Yeah, I'll run into people who are fast and small, and they do have. People do have their advantages. those advantages I feel like lead to certain comfort zones being created for you. Like I have comfort zones for me. Like I do feel good on top or in mount or something like that. So what I try to do, I think a lot of people do this. I try to just always put myself in positions that maybe I'm not the best at. So I'm starting in butterfly guards, or I'm starting down or at the bottom of the side, so I could maybe battle my way out. So I don't necessarily start with those advantages. I try and start with open guards and work on things like that.
Yeah,
that helps me at least.
And years ago, I saw a video. It's on Submissions 101, and man, I wish I could tell you the name of the video. If I can find it, I'll tag it in the comments. But it's on Submissions 101 for sure. And it's a video of Eddie Bravo, and he's broadly talking about the truck, and then goes into a tirade about how big guys should have the best guards. Because like you can kind of like just force yourself to be on top, especially at like beginning, you're a white belt versus another white belt. You can probably just be like, kind of sweep and be on top, right?
Yeah.
So if you start on top, it makes no sense. Like start on the bottom, force yourself to play guard. You're going to be able to force things at first until you learn the technique and how to do it well. But I think the idea of not using strength is a misnomer anyway. Like, I think those things shouldn't be what you depend on. For example, if I'm going to stack pass, there's a difference between just putting my arm underneath your leg and just throwing you by. That's not a good stack pass.
Right.
But if I stack you, I get your calf stuck on my leg, I bring your knee to your face, I put you up on your neck, I'm holding you up. Just because I'm bigger in that process, sure, that helps the technique. It sucks more for the guy on the bottom, but that's gravity. That I can't help that. As long as I'm doing the move technically, I don't think that matters too much.
Yeah, and I think that's also a great goal. Strive to be as technical as possible. I mean, I really do try to do that.
Regardless of your size.
Yeah, but it's nice then to be able to have, and I think you've told me this a long time ago, you can kind of back that technique up with some muscle when you need to. But I really try and adhere to the techniques and get good at those so that I could pull in the strength later. I mean, especially when I was starting out, I would probably use too much strength like a lot of people do, but I really have tried to dial that back personally.
Yeah, a good example of that, I think, is like an ankle grab sweep, a basic ankle grab sweep where you're holding onto their ankles and you're pushing them over with your legs, right? Like, if you get a beginner, they think just put the feet on and drive as hard as you can, and like they'll do an ankle grab sweep and the dude will just fly across the room, right? Like, okay, cool, you kind of understand it.
Yeah.
But what is a lever? It's got a lever arm. It's got a fulcrum. And there's always a force that needs to be applied to that lever arm, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's about how much force you need to apply or can apply to make it effective.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes you want to apply a minimum amount of force, whatever the minimum is to get the job done. Other times, maybe an arm drag, or a collar drag, let's say, you want to bring their face to the ground and make them face plant because you're immediately on their back. And I think it depends too who you're rolling, right? Like if I'm rolling a super small guy that I can just, my word for this is man fuck around, meaning I can just ragdoll him. Well, then I will purposely, that's when I'll start doing like Kiss of the Dragon and things like that force me to be, I try to move like a little guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's everybody's job. Like that's my job as the instructor and to put myself out there and let people have positions more. But like as you're a student and you're learning, like I don't expect a student to necessarily put themselves in those positions. I don't expect you to like give people your arm to torque on the way I do. Like you might do it you're like, I want to work arm bar defense today. So you give them your arm.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like, oh, this person is doing the move that I taught them to do a week ago. I'm going to go ahead and let them have that move, even though I could stop it or whatever, because they're doing the right thing. It's my job to reinforce it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a different look. But there's another half to this that I think that also matters. Is like that's you're doing jiu-jitsu. You're a purple belt. You've been doing it for like 5 years. So like you're already here doing it. I think if you're from the outside looking in, and let's say you watch someone like Dante Leon, and you're a 300-pound dude, you're thinking, I'm never going to be able to do that.
I see what you're saying.
You're sitting on the couch, maybe some your friends over there telling you about it and says, watch this guy. Or he watches Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan's built like a Greek god, right? Like,
right, true.
Like even Gordon Ryan, when he's not lifting a lot, is still in great shape, right? Like, assuming his belly's doing well.
Right.
But like, no 300-pounder sitting eating potato chips on the couch is thinking, man, I can do that. They're thinking, that looks like something. If I've got to look like that, it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to someone like that? If you had a friend over that was like, man, I feel like I'm just too heavy.
Yeah, well, I don't think my advice to anybody is just get out there. I mean, you can do something in jiu-jitsu. You absolutely can. No, you're not going to have world champion skill level right out the gate, but doing jiu-jitsu will help you get into the shape you need to be in, right? So, I mean, part of this is taking care of yourself, in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, you might be big, but everybody can be smaller, right? If you get out there and put some work in. I mean, probably when I started jiu-jitsu, right before I started jiu-jitsu, I stopped looking at a scale. I might have been upwards of 280 pounds. And now I'm 250 and sometimes bounce around in the 240s. And I'm still shooting to get even lower than this. But getting out there and saying, yes, I can do this. I'm going to try. I'm going to push myself. It helped me get there. I helped me melt off some of that weight, and I'm not done yet. So that person on the couch, they can get out there and they could be better than they are that day. Just by even doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu.
Well, I talked about this in my newsletter to the school. I don't know if you got a chance to read it, but like when any goal you want to do, right? There's an inspiration that starts it, right? Like, so maybe you watch Gordon Ryan and you're like, you know what, I can be a little better. Like, that's your inspiration. Mm-hmm. It's a very temporary thing. Like that lasts maybe a month. Those are the guys. You're in the gym and they're the new year, new me type of guys, right? Yeah. Their inspiration is it's a new year. I'm going to make the change. Mm-hmm. And then there's motivation, and motivation can last a little longer. But inspiration is typically seeing something that happened. Mm-hmm. The motivation is like your day-to-day desire to get up and do whatever it is you're going to do. Maybe it's losing weight, maybe it's getting better at painting miniatures, maybe it's whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever goal, writing a book, I don't know.
Sure.
And then there's discipline. Mm-hmm. And discipline is the part that people lack.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's very hard. And I know that there's probably some people who will watch this and be like, it's not hard at all. I don't understand. Mm-hmm. That's fine. I bet and if that's you, that's amazing. I don't think you understand what a skill you have if you are an extremely disciplined person. I don't know that you understand how difficult that is for people.
Yeah.
Because I know some people that are like, why would you ever get fat? Why would you ever let it happen?
True.
And it's like, I get what you're saying. I get it. But it's, for a lot of people, obviously, it's not nearly as easy as you think.
Right.
Right? Like, otherwise, we would have a bunch of people who aren't fat.
Yeah.
Like, that discipline to just eat the right thing and not overeat or avoid crappy foods is hard for most people.
Yeah.
Especially, we live in America, so especially in America, I can't speak for everybody else, but diabetes is a world epidemic. Obesity is a world epidemic. Like, these are problems that people have, and we could talk about whatever plastics in the water and all that stuff till our face is blue. But the simple fact is, if you don't eat bullshit, you're not going to be fat.
Yeah, and life is filled with lots of challenges that create stress, and part of the way that some people deal with stress, including me, is eating, right? Like, I have a full-time job. I'm a husband and father, and I have a lot of demands on my time, and life can be stressful, so I'll stress eat stuff. So
and like, when you're eating, this is that immediate gratification dopamine hit, right? Like, and then you maybe even feel bad about it after.
Yeah.
One of the things that a friend of mine, he's a starting strength coach out in Indianapolis. So if you're in the Indianapolis area, look him up. His name's Andrew Lewis. I was working with him, and he said, "You know what the hardest part about losing weight is?" And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Just knowing that you have to just be hungry, like, and just accepting that." And like, I think that's the part. Like, I've had so many people come up to me because I recently lost almost 50 pounds. And I've had so many people come up to me and they're like, "Yeah, I haven't found a way to do it that I'm not hungry." And it's like, you're going to be hungry. You're just going to be hungry. You're going to feel that. And again, if you've never been overweight, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. You're probably like, you may not even have that desire. You might think, look, man, eating is just a source of life. Why would you ever eat more than you need to or less than you need to? But like, I can tell you that even now, keeping the weight off as I have, I will drive by a Chick-fil-A and my mouth will salivate. It's like Pavlov's dogs, right? And like, I want it. And like, so what I do is I have like fruit in my car. That's when I eat my breakfast, is when I'm driving, because that's when I know I'll make the most mistakes.
Yes.
right? Like I will make that mistake of stopping at McDonald's or whatever. But if I have fruit in my car or something, I'll eat that instead. And now I'm satiated. And that's like a million times healthier.
Yes.
You can, like, I heard a doctor once saying that grapes were nothing but sugar bombs. And like a nutritionist was looking at him going, wait a minute, are you trying to tell me that you think that if we're comparing like a Reese's cup to a grape, you feel that they're the same? And he was like, well, yeah. He goes, that is the biggest, dumbest bullshit I've ever heard. He's like, a grape is orders of magnitude better for you. It's just a better choice.
Yes.
It's a natural choice. It's a healthier choice. It's got more nutrients. It's got calories, and there's a lot of sugar in it, but it's also nutrient dense. Like, same thing, an orange or a banana. Like, they have fructose, but these are not like corn syrups, right? They're not like these crappy foods.
Yeah, that's a good point. Bill showed up here with fruit tonight. I will point out that he did.
Yeah, oranges. Yeah, little mandarins.
Yeah. One thing I'll say about that, there is some positive reinforcement here, right? Because you talk about, okay, am I too heavy to do these techniques? And you have, do I eat too much and things like that? Because I have lost weight through doing jiu-jitsu, and I've seen my jiu-jitsu improve as a result of being lighter. Yeah. I do have, I have this whole thought of like, I don't want to lose my gains. So it has improved my diet a bit, because I'm thinking, all right, if I eat that, that's just going to kind of work against what all that I've worked to build here in jiu-jitsu. Just like people doing bodybuilding or weight training and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
There is a component of that, and maybe if people focus on that, I need to focus on that even more. I think that would be helpful. Just thinking, okay, I could be better if I'm at the thing I love doing by cutting some of this stuff out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the thing that I'll say is, as an exercise physiologist, I remember my first year in, because first couple years of college are just a bunch of whatever, English classes and stuff. But when I got into my practicum classes, the American College of Sports Medicine is kind of who you follow. That's kind of like them, and the National Strength and Conditioning Association are kind of like the two biggest, at least at the time. This has been 20 years now, so it might have changed a little. But anyway, the point is, like, there's a statement at the beginning of the ACSM book, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I know this isn't a direct quote, but it says something to the effect of physical fitness is directly correlated with a decrease in all-cause mortality. And when you say it that way and realize what that means literally any single reason you could die, from cancer to heart attacks to getting in a car wreck to being chased by an alligator, you are less likely to die from it because you're physically fit.
That's a good point.
And like, that is a big deal. And then that brings me to the second part, which is like, you can't outrun your weight. Like, you're not going to ever exercise hard enough. Now, you'll lose weight, especially if you go from like doing nothing, you're sitting on the couch eating potato chips, and you start doing jiu-jitsu, you're starting to move more. That's going to make a difference. But you can't, over time, your efficiency in doing it and will cap out. So at that point, and that's kind of like where I got to. And it's like, well, I'm really efficient at doing jiu-jitsu, meaning that I don't have to work that hard to do jiu-jitsu unless I'm in certain circumstances. Like in competition classes, I have to work hard. But like in regular classes, rolling average people, it is not hard for me in any kind of way. And I don't know if you've experienced that yet, that like rolling like a relatively new white belt or whatever, you're like, oh, this is not even, it's not even that it's not even a challenge because they don't know it. It's because it doesn't even challenge you physically. Like,
right.
I'm not breathing hard. I'm barely sweating.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's not exercise anymore.
Yeah,
because it's what I do. It's just what I do for a daily living, and that can lead to miscalculating how much you can eat and overeating anyway. So that led me to a very embarrassing experience about a year and a half ago. No, not even. It was about a year ago. And I'll say this on camera because I think it's something that a lot of you can relate to if you're watching this. I had taken my family to vacation in Virginia Beach. We drove out, so it was like, what is it, like 9-hour drive, 8-hour drive, something like that. And I get out of the car and my ankles are like this big around, man, like huge. And like already my mind is like, well, that's not good. That's like heart failure type stuff. That's the beginning of diabetes. That's all kinds of bad, right? That's poor circulation. And we were getting out and moving our legs and stuff, so it wasn't just sitting there. So, and I was at the point where like walking a distance would hurt my back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I remember my daughter wanted to go on a Ferris wheel. And guys, this Ferris wheel was maybe half a mile away from our hotel. Like, clearly visible, you can walk there. And I made up every excuse in the book not to go. And the real reason was it fucking hurt to walk.
Wow.
And that, like, on my way home, we were also putting down my dog, so there was some of that too that probably clicked a nerve. But we're driving home to go home, and what I know is put down my dog, who is my favorite being on the earth at that point, other than maybe my kids. And I say maybe most of the time. And I have this experience of feeding my daughter a line of bullshit about not having time to go to this Ferris wheel because I know that I'm just too fat to make the walk. And I was like, something's got to change. That was my inspiration, right? Like, it was like, that can never happen again.
Yeah.
And the very next, we go home, literally that same day we got home, I put down my dog. The next morning I wake up, put in some earbuds and just go for a walk.
Nice.
And that's where it started. And I was like, and then I downloaded the Weight Watchers app. So like, if you hate like tracking calories and stuff, I can speak volumes for the Weight Watchers app. I think it's amazing. It'll track your calories for you. You can just like scan what it is you're eating. Yeah, I mean, like, can you do jiu-jitsu heavy? Yeah, there's plenty of guys who do jiu-jitsu that are big.
Yeah.
But like, what else are you trying to do in your life? And what is the goal of jiu-jitsu if not a lifelong activity and a lifelong endeavor to make you better? And I think that if you accept that, then you're going to want to be more physically fit anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, we're not all going to be built like Gordon Ryan or Mikey Musumeci. It's just the way it is. So I don't know. That's my thought. Like accept that you're going to be hungry for a while until your body gets used to fewer calories. Because if you're 300 pounds, or in my case, I was 286, I'm not eating the calories to sustain 286. That's going to result in a hunger. All right. It's not because you're not eating enough. It's because I'm not eating enough to sustain 286.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want to be 220 or 230 or whatever, you need to just accept that.
Yeah.
And know that it's going to suck for a while. But you get used to it, and then it goes away, and you feel better. And it's like you were saying, like, now I can invert. I can bring my knees to my chest and defend guard passing better. I can just do everything I like to do better.
Yeah.
And I can take my dog for walks. I have a new dog named Winston. And I can go with my kids for walks. And that shit matters way more.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that positive reinforcement. I mean, jiu-jitsu is a lifestyle, right? And, I would encourage everybody to let that kind of bleed into the rest of their lives. And plus we got a lot of people around the school that were really helpful if you want to talk about weight cuts in a sustainable way and things like that. Some of my teammates have been doing that, and I've been getting pointers from them. But yeah, like jiu-jitsu is one thing, and don't just get comfortable doing that. Like that's what I'm currently thinking about right now. All the weight loss I've achieved right now has been through jiu-jitsu only. So I'm not particularly watching my diet. I'm not really running or lifting at all outside of this. But what if I did? Yeah. Jiu-jitsu is causing me to think of other ways to improve my life so I can be a better person, be here for my family, things like that. Yeah. So that's good stuff. And
the exercise physiologist and me and strength coaching will say that like strength training is very important. Cardiovascular training is very important. But like if you're heavier and you're thinking like any activity is going to be better than no activity, period, end of story. Unless you are so morbidly obese, and now we're talking about like my 500-pound life or something like that's a whole different story. Now you're probably going to need medication and everything because you're not going to be able to get your metabolism moving, right? And that person probably can't move well anyway. Yeah. That's a different story. But if you're 300 pounds, and I'm not saying 300 pounds like Thor Bjornsson, right? Like
right. Yeah.
You're just 6'3" and 300 pounds. You're probably overweight, right? So you need to work on that, and that's going to be done in the kitchen. You can't outrun or out exercise a bad diet. Start with that, but start moving too. Like that will help. It will contribute, and don't worry about it. It's like, what should I do at the gym? Well, just show up and literally do anything at first. Like just look at other people and be like, he's doing that. I guess I'll do that. Yeah. And then start like just show up, and then go start researching programs. But like the first part is just walking through the door and then doing something. Yeah. Just get on a stationary bike and ride for 20 minutes. Yeah. Build up some cardiovascular endurance. That'll build up your legs a little bit, especially if you're way overweight. You probably got weak legs. and then go from there. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I would say. Obviously you can consult professionals. This is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before you start any kind of exercise program or diet. I think I have to say that legally.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think
that's the legalese of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but in the end, like, are you too big to do jiu-jitsu? If you're watching this channel, or if you're asking that question, the answer is probably not. Mm-hmm. Probably not. Like, I don't think the person on my 700-pound life is thinking about doing jiu-jitsu. Right. So show up, go through the motions, do what you can do, accept that you're going to have to take breaks, and then, like, do more than just the basics. Mm-hmm. Once you can. That's the other part, is progression is important. So, like, you can get in the habit of, like, going to a basics class, which if you're well out of shape is going to be enough that for a while, but eventually you're going to want to start training harder and moving more, and you've got to accept that and make that time. Take an extra 15 or 20 minutes and lengthen your training.
Yeah.
Every day.
That's exactly how I started. I went to the basic fundamentals classes, like, oh, I like this. This is good, but I wanted more. I wanted to push myself more. So I started doing comp class, and then open mats, and I just would get every shred of jiu-jitsu I could. Yeah. So, just show up. That's half the battle. Like, if you're beating everybody on the couch by showing up, just get out there, get moving, and it will pay dividends in your life. It is well worth it.
All right. Well, thanks for being on.
Of course.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Guys, have a great one.